The illusion of fame. For as long as she could remember, Ava Mitchell had dreamed of being famous. As a child, she mimicked pop stars in front of her mirror. As a teenager, she studied influencers, analyzing what made them successful. By the time she was in college, she had her strategy figured out. Social media would be her ticket to the life she always wanted. She started small, posting aesthetic photos, witty captions, and engaging with trends. Her following grew steadily, but her breakthrough came unexpectedly. One viral post, an emotional video about overcoming self-doubt, exploded overnight. People connected with her vulnerability, and soon, brands, media outlets, and thousands of followers flocked to her account. She was an overnight sensation. At first, it was exhilarating. The sponsorships, the adoration, the feeling of being seen and heard. Ava had everything she thought she wanted. She moved into a stylish apartment, attended exclusive parties, and carefully curated a persona that was both aspirational and relatable. But behind the filters and perfectly crafted posts, Ava was drowning. Every day, she woke up with a schedule dictated by content. Breakfast was staged, workouts recorded, even her moments of relaxation were documented for engagement. She no longer lived life, she performed it. The pressure to remain relevant was crushing. If a post didn't do well, she spiraled. If she lost followers, she questioned her worth. The breaking point came at a fan meet and greet. A girl, no older than 16, approached her with tears in her eyes. "Ava, you're my inspiration," she said. "Your life is perfect. I wish I could be like you." Ava forced a smile, but inside, she shattered. If only the girl knew the truth. That night, she stared at herself in the mirror, wondering when she had last felt real joy. Not joy for an audience, not for the sake of engagement, just simple, unfiltered happiness. She couldn't remember. Desperate for clarity, she packed a small bag and left the city for the first time in years. She went to a quiet countryside town, where no one knew her. Without the constant need to document her every move, she felt strangely free. She read books without reviewing them, walked through fields without taking selfies, and spoke to strangers without considering how the interaction could be turned into content. Days turned into weeks, and Ava found herself again in the quiet moments. She wrote in a journal for herself, not for an audience. She laughed without wondering how she looked. She remembered what it felt like to exist without validation from strangers. When she finally returned, she made a decision: she wouldn't quit social media, but she would redefine her relationship with it. She deleted the apps from her phone for long stretches of time. She posted only when she felt like it, not when the algorithm demanded it. And most importantly, she reminded herself that her worth wasn't measured by likes, shares, or follows. Her first post after her break was simple. "I once thought fame would bring happiness. It didn't. What did? Living for myself." If you feel lost in this digital world, step away. Breathe. The real moments. They're the ones you don't have to post. Some people unfollowed her. Others resonated with her message. But for the first time, Ava didn't care about the numbers. She had found something far more valuable: herself. Title: The Cost of Virtual Fame. In the heart of the digital age, Noah had become a social media sensation. His rise to fame was meteoric. What started as casual posts about fitness and lifestyle turned into a full-fledged career. Millions followed his journey, envying his sculpted physique, exotic vacations, and seemingly perfect life. Sponsorships rolled in, and brands clamored for his endorsement. But beneath the surface, cracks were beginning to show. Noah's life had become a never-ending cycle of content creation. Every moment had to be picture perfect, every post carefully curated. He spent hours adjusting lighting, retaking photos, and editing captions to fit his brand. Yet, Despite the admiration he received, he felt increasingly empty. The pressure to maintain the illusion of an ideal life weighed heavily on him. One evening, while reviewing his latest posts, Noah received a direct message from an old high school friend. "Jake, man, do you ever just live without the camera?" At first, Noah brushed it off, but the question haunted him. When was the last time he had truly enjoyed a moment without thinking about how it would look online? The breaking point came during a brand-sponsored trip to the Maldives. The turquoise waters and golden sunsets were breathtaking, but Noah saw them only through his phone screen. He spent hours capturing the perfect shots, barely speaking to the other influencers on the trip. One night, as he edited a video for a product placement, he glanced around the villa. Everyone was glued to their devices, living their lives through pixels and filters. A wave of exhaustion washed over him. He realized he wasn't experiencing life, he was performing it. That night, he did something radical. He turned off his phone and walked out onto the empty beach. Without the distraction of notifications and likes, he felt something he hadn't in years: peace. When Noah returned home, he made a life-changing decision. He took a break from social media, without any grand announcement or farewell post. The withdrawal was immediate. He felt an itch to check his notifications, a fear that his absence would make him irrelevant. But as the days passed, he discovered a new rhythm. Without the pressure of an online audience, Noah reconnected with old passions. He read books instead of scrolling endlessly. He hit the gym for the love of fitness, not for content. He spent quality time with family, listening to their stories instead of checking his engagement metrics. For the first time in years, he felt present. Months later, Noah returned to social media, but not as the influencer he once was. He no longer chased perfection. His first post back was a simple photo of him hiking, sweat dripping down his face, a genuine smile replacing the posed expressions of his past. "Stepping away showed me what I was missing," he wrote. "Here's to living, not just posting." To his surprise, the response was overwhelming. His followers resonated with his message, sharing their own struggles with digital burnout. Noah realized his influence had taken on a new form, not as a picture-perfect icon, but as someone who embraced reality. This time, he wasn't just an influencer. He was Noah, a man who had finally learned to live beyond the screen. The cost of connection. Noah Carter had always been a quiet observer of the world. As a child, he preferred books over playgrounds, journals over conversations. But when social media became mainstream, he saw an opportunity. Here was a place where he could express himself without the awkwardness of face-to-face interactions. A place where he could be heard without having to raise his voice. At first, it was harmless. He shared thoughts, photography, snippets of poetry. A small group of followers appreciated his words, and that was enough. But as his audience grew, so did his expectations for himself. Likes and shares became addictive. Engagement turned into validation. He started curating his posts, choosing words not for their meaning but for their impact. Then came the viral moment. One of his poems about love and loss resonated with millions. Overnight, Noah was no longer just a quiet writer, he was an internet sensation. Publishers reached out, brands wanted collaborations, and his inbox overflowed with messages of admiration. At first, he reveled in it. He had always dreamed of being a published writer, and now that dream was within reach. But with fame came pressure. His followers expected constant inspiration, constant wisdom. The things he once wrote for himself were now written for them. He began to feel trapped. Every post was scrutinized, every word dissected. Strangers who had never met him felt entitled to his personal thoughts. If he went silent for too long, people asked what was wrong. If he shared something too personal, they judged. The internet, which had once been his refuge, now felt like a glass cage. One night, as he sat in front of his screen, drafting yet another post meant to impress rather than express, he hesitated. He no longer recognized the person behind the words. He had lost the joy of writing, the raw honesty that had once been his driving force. Taking a deep breath, he did something he never thought he would. He logged out. For weeks, Noah disconnected. He wrote in a notebook instead of online. He read without feeling the need to share quotes. He walked through the city without documenting the sky, the streets, the people. He let himself exist without an audience. Slowly, he rediscovered his love for words. Not for engagement, not for approval, but for himself. He wrote stories with no intention of sharing them, poetry that no one else would read. And in that solitude, he found peace. When he returned to social media, it was on his terms. He posted sporadically, without pressure. He no longer felt the need to be profound with every sentence. He allowed himself to be human, to be imperfect. His first post after his hiatus was simple. I once wrote for the world. Now, I write for myself. And somehow, that feels like freedom. Some people unfollowed. Others stayed. But for the first time, Noah didn't care about the numbers. He had reconnected with the one person he had neglected the most, himself. Title: The Illusion of Connection. Emma had always been an introvert. Growing up, she found solace in books rather than social gatherings, preferring the quiet company of fictional characters over real people. When social media became popular, she saw it as an opportunity to connect with others without the anxiety of face-to-face interaction. What started as a way to share her thoughts and interests gradually became an obsession. At first, Emma posted about her favorite novels, her morning coffee rituals, and the little joys of life. Her following grew steadily, and soon she found herself crafting posts that would appeal to her audience rather than simply expressing herself. Likes, comments, and shares became the metrics by which she measured her worth. She began curating her life, editing out the mundane and amplifying the extraordinary. Even on days when she felt lonely or uninspired, she posted pictures of cozy reading nooks and smiling selfies with captions that didn't reflect her reality. To her followers, she was the embodiment of aesthetic perfection, an intellectual, well-read, and effortlessly charming young woman. But in truth, Emma was lonelier than ever. One evening, as she scrolled through her feed, she stumbled upon an old friend's profile. Sophie had been her closest companion in high school, but they had lost touch over the years. Unlike Emma's polished posts, Sophie's feed was raw and unfiltered. Pictures of messy desks, rainy walks, and handwritten notes filled her timeline. The contrast was striking. Emma realized she couldn't remember the last time she had posted something truly authentic. The moment of reckoning came when she was invited to an influencer meetup. It was a gathering of people just like her, curators of perfect lives. But as she sat in a beautifully decorated cafe, surrounded by laughter and camera flashes, she felt a strange emptiness. Conversations revolved around engagement rates, content strategies, and brand deals. No one spoke about books, emotions, or real-life struggles. Emma excused herself and stepped outside. The city was alive with people who weren't concerned with capturing every moment for social media. She watched as a street musician played his guitar, completely immersed in the music, indifferent to whether anyone was watching. The realization hit her like a wave. She had been performing her life, not living it. That night, she made a decision. She put her phone away and picked up an old-fashioned journal. For the first time in years, she wrote without an audience, without the pressure to be perfect. The words flowed freely, unfiltered and raw. Over the next few weeks, she started reducing her time online. She reached out to Sophie, reconnecting over coffee instead of comments. She took long walks without checking her notifications. She let go of the need to document every moment, choosing instead to experience it fully. When she finally returned to social media, she did so with a newfound purpose. Her posts were no longer curated performances but honest reflections. She shared her struggles with anxiety, her favorite imperfect moments, and the joys of being present. To her surprise, her followers responded with overwhelming support. One message stood out: "Thank you for being real. Your words made me feel less alone." For the first time in a long time, Emma felt truly connected not through a screen, but through genuine human emotion. And that, she realized, was the connection she had been searching for all along.